Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 100-day project, day 50. We are officially halfway through, and I am just, wow, like it just went by super, super fast. Today is my last day of oil pastel, and I'll start with acrylic tomorrow. This will be an interesting transition because I've been in drawing media for 20 days, from soft pastel directly to oil pastel. And then to go back to a brush is going to be a bit of a transition, but it's been fun shaking things up. And I have really enjoyed kind of falling in love with each of these different media again. When I came to the surface today, this is a surface I had prepared using the Color Fix Clear Primer, and this is Rubine Red acrylic ink from Liquitex that I mixed in as I was applying it. And I saw a face in there, so I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to go with. I thought, oh, it's my last day of oil pastel. Do I want to do something specific? Do I da-da-da? And I was like, look, there's a face here. Keep it simple. Just do it. The irony is I spent so long on this. I spent a really, really long time on it, and I was fighting with the features. So at the very beginning, you saw me kind of sketch out some reference lines. I wanted to get my eye line straight, even though his head is tilted, but I wanted my eyes to be on that same eye line. And then I wanted the nose and the mouth to be in the center. Well, somehow my mouth got off. And so I ended up fighting with that for quite a bit and trying to get it sort of moved over a little bit. Once you get a lot of oil pastel on the surface, you can kind of slide things around, but it's really difficult to sort of erase things. And you'll notice here on the right side of his face, it's a little lower than I want it to be. So I try and do that, but I've already added so much of that dark that it's a little difficult. So a best practice is to really do a good sketch first, get your features sort of situated, and then you can kind of, or your big landmarks, I should say, not your features. I do the eyes at the very end. Kind of get the shape is what I'm trying to say. I've been teaching every day in a row for several days, and so words are not coming to me very easily right now. But so yeah, a best practice if for a medium like this, if you're working in acrylic, you can move things around all you want, even with oil. With watercolor, it's a little more challenging, and with these drawing mediums, it's a little more challenging. So I could have done a better job sketching is what I was saying, or at least mapping out the structure at first. So I fought with it a little bit. And a lot of times what I do is I just kind of go with it and make the best of it, right? Especially when I've got these images that show up intuitively in my work, I kind of go, like his mouth is open. I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's got something to say. And when I was doing the shape and I was kind of looking at where his hair might be, it looked like a hat. And I have another figure that I did in oil that was wearing a big bright hat. And sometimes I wonder, is this the same person? Who knows, right? It's all part of the story. But whatever's going on with him, he's got something to say about it. So it's good practice for me to do more expression. That was one of the things I really wanted to do more of, is more faces with expression. And life is so interesting. When you set an intention and you're open to it, you get what you ask for. And so I've been asking for more expression, or setting the intention to do more of that, to do more lines in the face, etc. And look at these figures that have been showing up for me lately. They're very expressive, and these are just intuitive. These are the ones that are showing up in the surface. So I'm getting a chance to practice that, which is really what I wanted. So that part of it makes me really happy. And I really do need to go back. I want to do some reflection videos and just digest and process for each 10 days of each medium what I learned, what I took away from that 10-day window. And then certainly halfway through, I'm noticing things. I can't wait to see where it ends 50 days from now in June. I think it's in June. All the things I will have learned by then, because I've learned so much so far. So yeah, amazing journey. So I'm finally getting to the point where I'm putting his eyes in. And again, the biggest thing I want to make sure is that they're lined up. If you imagine a horizontal line that curves around the form, I want the bottom of my eyes to be along that line. And I didn't really spend a lot of time on the eyes. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I left them to the end. And I fought with the nose a little bit. And it's really that mouth that I spent most of the time on as I was going through. I'm using orange, so I'm thinking about if I want the eye to be the focal point, I want to have some really good contrast. So I'm going to put most of my whites in that area. And then I also want to add color, in particular a contrasting color. So I've got so much blue, I thought, let me go in and do some orange and have his eyes be really bright. So that's what I did. That's sort of how I represent brown eyes in lots of ways anyway. So I gave him some eyebrows that are a little bit dark. And then what I want to do is add some dimension to this hat. So I'm going dark on that left side of the hat. On the right side, if we're looking up and the sun or the light source is kind of coming up, it's going to hit that far side of his hat on the right side. So I've got it a little bit lighter there. And then I want it to be, the background to be lighter on the darker side of his face and then darker on the lighter side of the face. So I'm doing that. And here I'm going to go in and try and fix that mouth here in a minute. But I'm using my skewer to scratch in some texture in the hat just to give it a little bit of interest. So here I'm trying to widen his mouth a little bit. That's what's bothering me. I want his mouth to be a little bit further to the left so the edge lines up with the corner of his eye and the edge of his nose. And it's just a little far to the right. So the good news is I've got a lot of that really soft Sennelier oil pastel in the center of his mouth. So I can use my color shaper to just push that pigment over, and I don't have to add any more pigment in there. So that's great. And then I can come back in with that reddish color and just reshape that left side and bring it over a little bit. And now I'm lifting that side of the face on that side as well, just to get those lines going. And now I'm using my skewer to go in and scratch in some wrinkles. Yay for wrinkles. Finally, some texture and some expression in the face. So I'm adding some of those 11s because he's got something to say. So he's probably got some 11s in there. Some lines in the forehead, some lines in the corner of the eyes. And the great news is that I've got a lot of oil pastel on here. So the scraping in, which you'll see hopefully close up in a minute, looks awesome. So you can really see those lines, and that's what I was going for here. So we'll do a close-up in a second, and you'll get to see, yay, finally some texture, some lines in the face, a little bit of funky wonky expression. The only thing that I'm sitting with is it is super vibrant, and you know that's a lot coming from me, right? And these pastels, these oil pastels are super, super vibrant. I might want to go in and neutralize that left side of the background a little bit more. It's just a little too bright. And while I love the brightness of the hat, I might neutralize that a little bit as well. So I'm just going to sit with that and see, because it's fighting. All that color is fighting, and I really want his eye to stand out, and that's that orange color. So I just need to sit with that. So when I do my review and all of that good stuff, I'll bring these pieces out again and show you if I've made any minor tweaks to them. A couple of them, I do some little tweaks after I sit with it for a while, just, little minor things. So I will definitely point that out to you if I do that in the end. Last day of oil pastel, y'all. We're on to acrylic tomorrow. And take care of you. Thanks for joining me on the journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.